I'm Ryan Walters, that other podcast host that you hate the most, and you're listening to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix.
It is Saturday, November 26, 2022. It is 8:01 sharp. It is my fault that we are tardy. I apologize to the one person listening live at the time. Walters, I'm so sorry we're getting your Saturday morning started 1 minute late. I know we want to hit up the DMZ later, and I'm going to walk away with all the coolest guns, all the coolest contracts completed. But anyways, hello everybody, and welcome to the Hidden Oaks Overdose Football Fix podcast. I am one of your lovely hostesses, the Garlic Johnson. We are joined, as always, by our other lovely hostess, the Joshua Mitchell. Josh, go ahead and say hi to all the folks out there.
Hi, all the folks out there.
Very good, Josh. We always appreciate people who chat along in our Discord because they are so beautiful and they are so handsome and they are so whatever they want to be and however they want to feel. Segment start times will be back down in the description below. That's back after the Tuesday show of laziness, and we appreciate we appreciate at Levi Oki Illustration for all the beautiful art you can see. Probably a little late to try and get in on this Christmas list. I know he does actually get busy this time of year, but if you throw him enough money at him, maybe, just maybe, you can walk away with something cool. So thank you at Levi Oki Illustration for all the beautiful art you can see. Josh, how we darn? Thanksgiving has come and gone. Did you feed your face? Were you the MVP of the Turkey Bowl like you have been for the last 10 years running? How you doing? How you feeling?
Well, I don't know about 10 years running. Maybe
all right,
just
20 years running.
Well, getting closer, but no, I was not the MVP. I think that the MVP goes everybody that attended, because the real MVP are the people that had fun. No, I don't know. I mean, everybody had I don't know of anybody that had an absolutely horrible game. I had a couple pass breakups. Had a couple tutters.
Defensive MVP?
No. Dave Sausen earned the nickname at some point. Shutdown Sausen.
Cool. I mean, he's a big nickname guy. I don't know if that's fair, but
I mean, I called him Shutdown Sausen. Some people call him PBU Sausen, which is just kind of okay. But I had a couple good passes. I went 2 for 3 at quarterback. And 2 for 2 when I was playing quarterback, and then I had a little wide receiver pass, and that one was a hospital ball to Dave that almost got 4 people killed. But we won't talk about that one. But when I was quarterback, I threw a nice little route to Jordan on the sideline, hit him in stride. He just about scored, got us to the 4. And then had a guy walking by to go get lined up, and he says back shoulder. I was like, all right. So I waited for him to get to the top of the line, and then I threw it as he's turning. Back shoulder, low and outside, tutter. No big deal.
Wow, Josh. So wait, I didn't fully hear, because I am trying to get a bunch of stuff in the background here. But is your completion percentage 100 for this Turkey Bowl this year?
No, 66.
Oh, 66. How you doing, pal?
Yeah.
Classic.
But yeah,
Josh.
then I had a catch and couple moves and put Walters on his butt.
No, dude. Put Walters on skates,
he didn't
dude?
fall over.
Oh.
He didn't fall over, but he didn't touch me at all. But yeah, it was a good time. We had talked about it a little bit. We talked about it a little bit that they changed the setup and they actually have a turf field over there now instead of the lumpy grass field that we were playing on the last few years. So that was pretty nice.
Pretty nice, Josh. Think of the players. Think of the knees, dude. Who do you think you are? You're a sellout.
No. See, it's Coon Rapids turf. So what it really is it's kind of like they can't afford concrete, so they use like Jello and pudding underneath it. So it was a little bit softer. But overall, it was a fun time. How was your Thanksgiving, Gar? I want to hear all about ranch.
Well, unfortunately, Josh, when you have divorced parents, and then also I went to a friend kind of Thanksgiving deal, I didn't spend too much time with ranch because I was popping around all day. But my Thanksgiving, I went over to a friend's place at noon, stuffed my face with turkey and taters and stuffing and pie. Then I went to my mom's house and stuffed my face with turkey and taters and pie and stuffing, and then I went over to my aunt's house with my dad, and I didn't really stuff my face at that point. Honestly, I could not do a third round of stuffing my face. Had room for pie later. Obviously, had third round of pie. Shout out diabetes. Shout out all the non-Americans listening who think I'm a fat ass, because I am. But no, so when I got to my aunt's house, I did get to watch the football game with Ranj and some of the uncles and cousins and stuff. And I don't really enjoy watching football games with my dad. At least maybe if it was just me and him, it'd be different. But I feel like my dad sometimes, when Ranj is around a bunch of other people, he's kind of like on a stage a bit, and he feels like he has to like put me in my place a bit, And so, he, to my perspective, Josh, I think I know everything. Obviously, right? I'm a superior football mind. I won't have a podcast if I didn't
have a podcast. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I wouldn't have a podcast if I didn't have the superior football mind. And so he's out there putting out a bunch of garbage takes, like literally the whole game. He was sitting there talking trash. Like, he doesn't seem to understand that once they move the kickoff to the 25 or 30 or whatever it is, that really no one returns balls anymore, and it's for player safety and this and that. But he's like, no, this Ken Nwangwu kid doesn't ever return kicks. This guy stinks. We got to fucking cut him and get someone good in there. I was like, Dad, first of all, you're completely wrong. He is a good kick returner. And second of all, like, the league has changed. Like, I sit there and tried to break it down for him. He didn't want to have it. And then, of course, later in the game, after he's been talking trash for 3 or 4 quarters, depending on when it happened, Kenai does return a kick. And, arguably the changing point of the game, there's a couple other plays that could be the playmaker, but a return kick is a huge deal for momentum swinging in that game. So, Ranch, you're a silly goose. And I know you want to think you know a lot about football, but maybe you did in the 80s, all right? Football's a little different these days. And he was talking shit about Thielen all game, and Thielen had like 5 catches and a tud. Like, the Ranch is a wild card. I know you said you specifically wanted me to talk about Ranch, so this is now the Ranch podcast. But my dad has a lot of silly football takes, and I wouldn't go out of my way to watch football games with him, because I'm much more of a despite what I'll put in the Discord, sometimes I do that for entertainment purposes. I usually watch the games pretty quietly, pretty passively, just let the game happen. I'm not screaming at the top of my lungs because Kirk Cousins didn't throw the ball fast enough or because defense stinks. I just sit there calmly and watch the game. So being in a room full of people who are loud, obnoxious is not usually my bag, so to speak. What about you?
Well, I just find it funny that you say that, because I do vaguely recall a time during the Super Bowl when the Atlanta Falcons were playing the New England Patriots, and the Falcons had given up a lead, and somebody who had been cheering for the Patriots that game got up off their chair, and then walked, a solid 5.5, 6 feet, got into an athletic stance and screamed "woo" in my face.
Well, you see, Josh, that is a little different scenario, but you're right. I'm not afraid of yelling, but
okay, no, I was just kidding. I still find that moment kind of funny, because I wasn't necessarily cheering for anybody, and then you did that to me.
Oh, Josh, that's how you live your whole life, though. You just sit on the sidelines, so you never have to have a take, and then you can just call everyone dumb while never, having anything on the line. That's a classic Josh moderate move.
The Super Bowl, if it doesn't involve the Packers, the Chargers. Well, now the Chargers, but if it doesn't involve the Packers, then I would just want a good game. I don't want to sit there and watch one of them Broncos Seattle games that we had a few years back. And so, yeah, that was a great game. It was fun to watch. But anyways, I forget what the question was. My head hurts. I have a lot of boogers in my nose.
No, I mean, we can move on. I was just asking you. I just put the question back to you. Like, do you enjoy watching with a crowd of loud, obnoxious people, or are you more of a quiet football guy? But
definitely a quiet football guy.
Okay. We'll just move on. We're already fucking 10 minutes into the pod, but we did vamp a bit because I was not prepared to start the pod. But we can go quickly through the start sit. Speaking of the start sit, Josh, are you ready to start talking about some start sit? Walters, you're the only one here. Feel free to put some in the chat if you like. We don't need the content, but if you'd like us to help you win your championship this year, we are here to do so. Josh, who we got in the first round of the start set, pal?
Well, first off, last week we went 4-5 with a positive 21.9, so we're keeping that streak alive. Overall, we're 33 out of 55. Doesn't sound like the best percentage, but overall, we're still positive 130.48, which is pretty solid.
That could be 2 fantasy weeks depending on your scoring system.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound mean, but if you're in the Victoria's Secret League, that could be 3 weeks for some teams.
Oh no.
as far as this week, we've got the benchable quarterbacks. So let's just say you're someone like me in the BSB league, and your quarterbacks are literally backups that you're praying get to start. We've got Marcus Mariota at Washington or Matt Ryan versus Pittsburgh. Gar, is there anybody here that you would rather play? Let's just pretend that all 30 teams or all 28 teams, I guess, besides these four, get sick with COVID-20.
Oh no!
Which of these two would you want?
Improved. I mean, I'd take Marcus Mariota. He's just a little bit more mobile. That Washington defense has been electric lately, but I don't know if we've seen them. Not after. Well, they did beat the Eagles. Okay, so that is a mobile quarterback. But I mean, both defenses they're playing good, right? Like the Washington defense has really come on strong lately, and the Pittsburgh defense, despite that team being pretty much trash this year, Pittsburgh defense is still pretty good. And Matt Ryan only put up 8 points last week against a Philadelphia defense that's pretty stout. So if he's playing another good-ish defense, I expect maybe only 10 points, whereas Marcus Mariota, even if he has a rough game, I could see him putting up maybe 15. Maybe he sneaks a rushing touchdown in there. He played San Fran earlier in the year, which has had a pretty good defense. He put up 24 on them. He put up 15 on the Seattle defense. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, the Washington defense is probably better, but Mariota seems to be able to squeak it out some way, somehow. So I'll take Mariota over Ryan, unless you feel more strongly about Matty Ice.
Well, I just think that they have Watt. I think is going to be back for Pittsburgh. So yeah, Matt Ryan is going to have a little bit of a harder time. But then Washington's defense, like you said, has been electric lately. I believe they made Jalen Hurts' life miserable. Mariota is going to be not necessarily a similar runner, but that offense is run first. They just lost their, believe it or not, I believe he's their target leader, Kyle Pitts. You wouldn't believe it by the scores that he's put up in fantasy, but so that's going to be, limiting his, receiver options. And so I just, the reason this category is called benchable is because, yeah, they're both benchable. I was leaning Ryan, but I do think Mariota, if he does break free for a rushing one, he does have more opportunity to run than Matt Ryan. So that would, gun to my head, I'd probably go Mariota in this situation just because they're both trash. I mean, I'm thinking we're talking like a 3 to -1 point performance.
It might be. Yeah, these are not the options you want, but if they're the options you got to do what you got to do. Moving on, Josh, we have Old Dog versus New Trick. We've got, I assume L Train is Latavius Murray. I guess I didn't 100% confirm, but I don't know who the hell else it would be, right? That's okay. He's Tay Train. Please show a little respect. We've got Tay Train at Carolina, or we've got Rachaad White at Cleveland. I do believe, Fournette's going to play, but Rachaad White clearly took over that last game, so we'll kind of see. But Josh, who do you like? Do you like Latavius Murray with now zero competition in the Denver backfield, or do you like Rachaad White, the new and upcomer on that Tampa Bay defense that Tampa Bay offense that still could win their division, but Leonard Fournette is looming?
Well, the reason he's L Train is because if you are going to start him over Rachaad White, you're going to get that L. And so I'm leading Rachaad White just because he is that new trick. He did take over a little bit last week. I don't think that even if Fournette does play, I believe their share is trending in the direction of Rachaad White. He's a little bit more explosive. That offense for Denver is anemic. Mr. Unlimited is still pretty darn limited. He's got too many danger witches on the sideline. So I'm going to go with Rachaad White in this situation. Just because I do think that it's a little bit more of an explosive and offense, and he's got some opportunity to overtake that backfield.
I mean, okay. Let the record show, Garlic personally has been high on Latavius Murray since he got signed in Denver. So I've been a big Tay Train guy. So if people care about Garlic specific takes, listen to me. But I've also been absolute fucking trash at fantasy this year. And for purposes of the podcast, if Josh is saying Rachaad White, we should definitely go with Rachaad White because, again, in terms of yo-yoing, I am yo-yoing hard down this year. So Josh, I'll agree with you and Rachaad White in principle, even though I love Tay Train. But for the record, my heart pulled me to Tay Train. But what do we got next?
Well, yeah, you let your emotions get in
yeah, the truthiness, pal, my fucking gut.
Yeah, and your gut right now, it's been force-fed Minnesota Vikings, and since that guy, Tay Train used to wear that purple.
To solve the puzzle. Go tuck yourself in.
You got it.
Yep. So we've got wide receiver ones for the wide receiver category this week. We've got Tyreek Hill versus Houston, or Devonta Adams at Seattle. both of them. If you have both of them, you probably drafted in that 10th spot out of a 12-person league, 9th spot maybe, 8th spot because Tyreek Hill did drop. So it's possible to have both of these guys. You're going to start both of them if you have them. But if you only had to pick one, Gar, who would you have?
Damien, this one's really interesting because, of course, like Seattle started hot and they've kind of cooled off a bit. And Houston is a garbage team, but their secondary, I mean, maybe it's just been game script because people have been able to run all over Houston. Or whatever the case may be, but the Houston actually is one of the top defenses against receivers in fantasy production this year. And so again, you could argue, I'm not going to sit here and argue that Houston's defense is really good. I couldn't name a single player on their defense, but the fact is they have not allowed a lot of fantasy points to the receivers. So I mean, it seems like Tyreek Hill is a slam dunk here playing Houston, but the Houston defense has been very good. The Seattle defense has also been really hard at shutting down, or has also worked really hard at shutting down receivers this year. And so I guess, you could argue, I guess to me, let's say both of these top receivers are taken out of the game, in theory, by the defense. Could Mike McDaniel scheme up Tyreek Hill 100 yards and a touch? Sure, but he doesn't need to. They've got Jeff Wilson, they've got Waddle, they've got Gesicki, they've got Raheem Mostert. So like they can 100% win this game with Tyreek Hill getting doubled and tripled all game. Whereas I think Devontae Adams, they probably need him a little bit more. Josh Jacobs is good, but he just sneakily showed up on the injury report on Friday. And so I'm going to take Devontae Adams just because I think he is needed more by his team to win. They have less weapons overall, and so they're going to have to force feed Adams. Whereas I think Tyreek Hill, of course, Tyreek Hill wants to eat, he wants to feast, but they could 100% win this game without Tyreek Hill at all. That's where my logic is going, but again, you've been the better fantasy mind this year, so if you want to tell me I'm fucking crazy, that's fine, but I lean Adams just because Hill isn't as necessary as Adams.
Yeah, I mean, they're both having pretty stellar years. Hill, obviously, I believe he is now second in receiving yards after Justin Jefferson played earlier this week. Adams has, he's had his up and downs this year, but the last 3 weeks he's had over 120 receiving yards and 13, 14, and 17 targets. And so he's finished wide receiver 1 twice in the last 3 weeks and wide receiver 6. And in between, and sandwiched in between. 2 of those weeks were against top defenses, with Indianapolis's pass defense and Denver. So yeah, I think that he's matchup proof essentially. Sure, he's had some bust weeks, and it's very possible he does. But he is playing. I guess they wouldn't have played Seattle because they're not in the NFC. But against Seattle, yeah, I do think that. I do think that Adams is a good play, but obviously they're going to play both if you have him. Hill is having an amazing season as well, just because he's so electric. But yeah, I'm going to go with my Devontae Adams.
All right, we love it, Josh. Moving on next, we have tighter than tight, like a toiga, the 2 best tight ends in the league. Unless you're in some sort of guillotine where you bought one that got cut, you're not going to have both these guys on your team almost anywhere. But we've got Mark Andrews at Jacksonville. He still seems like still nursing that injury a bit. He wasn't as electric last week coming back, but Mark Andrews at Jacksonville or Travis Kelce, the absolute goat of goats, at least in modern history, versus the Rams. Josh, who do you like? Do you like Mark Andrews or do you like Travis Kelce?
I'd lean Kelce just because you can't really bet against him until he starts to show that he's not good anymore, and that's probably not going to happen until Brady retires in 50 years. So I'm going to go with Travis Kelce here. The reason that I went with this one was A, because the site that we use, this is the only option they had, and B, these are the only 2 tight ends in the NFL at this point. Right. So Kelce's where I'm leaning. Kelce's where I'm leaning, even though the matchup is probably going to be a little bit tougher. But actually probably not, because Jacksonville defense isn't that bad either.
Yeah, but I mean, Josh, Kelce is the slam dunk. Andrews certainly has been, has a history of being able to be electric, but Lamar Jackson seems to be struggling right now. Not that he can't figure it out, but Kelce has been consistently the top doggest of dogs all year, and so Kelce is the slam dunk here. Let's not even sit here and break down the tail of the tape. Who cares? We'll move on to the last one. Kelce clearly the slam dunk here. Moving on to lastly, you just said we've got kind of the four-person flex position here. We've got Juwan Johnson at San Francisco. Juwan Johnson's really been breaking out this year. We got Julio Jones at Cleveland. We've got Christian Watson at Philly, and we've got Brian Robinson, Bulletproof Brian, versus Atlanta. Where are you leaning here initially, Josh? And I promise I will talk a bit more this time.
Well, Right off the bat, I'm kind of eliminating Julio and B-Rob. Brian Robinson's share has fallen in the last few weeks. He is not. I've watched some of the games, and he's hesitant to hit the hole. He's not as explosive as they'd like him to be. He's not firing off like a gunshot, and so it's very kind of. It seems like he's not 100% at this point. But once he gets to that point, I think he'd be good. His value comes in the red zone area. Julio he had a touchdown last week, I believe, but I don't think he's a safe play. Juwan, like you said, he's turning it up. I've always liked him. Last year I was high on him, and he didn't do much this year. I've got him in a couple leagues, and he's solid, but he didn't start off that hot. And then we've got Christian Watson. And so going back to your whole, you let your emotions take hold. Christian Watson is on pace for. Christian Watson is on pace for 500,000 touchdowns this year. Wow. If you use my math, which is not necessarily always perfect. But he is going up against that stout Philly defense. Philadelphia hasn't necessarily played anybody with a wide receiver one this year. And so I think that Christian Watson is going to put up at least 250 yards and 4 tutters. So I'm going to lean with Juwan at this one. Christian Watson.
Right. All right. My initial thoughts was Juwan Johnson has been pretty consistent lately. Like, he's hit double digits the last 3 weeks. So that's 11 points, 12 points, and then 12 points again, at least in half-point PPR. That's what I always pull up. So, he's been pretty consistent, but Christian Watson has been boom in the last 2 weeks. He put up, obviously, those 30 points and 3 tuds against Dallas, like you said, and then 2 more touchdowns against Tennessee, although only, 4 receptions for 48 yards. But I'll still lean with Christian Watson because of all these 4 players, he has the biggest boom potential. It's not even close. Maybe B-Rob can get going against a struggling Atlanta defense, but I'm not afraid to go Christian Watson with you. I think Juwan Johnson would definitely be my second in line, and then Brian Robinson, and then Julio Jones in that order. But I'm not afraid to go with Christian Watson for you, or I'm not afraid to ride with you on Christian Watson this week, Josh, especially because every Vikings fan this week is now a Packers fan. We are cheering for the Packers to beat Philly because the Vikings would still like to be in the race for the first overall seed. Even if we don't deserve it, we would love a bye just because then we can last in the playoffs 1 week before we get our loss. But every Vikings fan, we are saying go Pack, go this week. And so for that reason, Josh, bringing our emotions into it, we want Christian Watson, pal. How's that make you feel?
Dirty. But yeah, no, I think that your order is exactly what mine would be. Watson, I'd love to see him get more targets. Probably not going to happen, just because he's still a rookie. Rodgers has that broken thumb that, like I said earlier, or in one of our last podcasts, it's literally being taped on. He has no skin attached. It's just tape. But yeah, so I'd go Christian Watson just because of that boom potential.
All right, Josh, we have started it and we have set it them, and we'll go ahead and move on to the FanDuel Fun thing. We should probably go through these pretty quickly, but there's also not too much more to talk about. But anyways, FanDuel Fun, Josh, who do you like this week as a favorite?
I've got Josh Palmer, 6,800 for the wide receiver for the Chargers. He's done a good job the past few weeks, taking over kind of. He's getting plenty of targets, so I feel like that's a decent value.
All right, yeah, I like Josh Palmer as well. It seems like Mike Williams is maybe going to miss a little bit more time. They said his injury wasn't quote-unquote serious, but who the fuck knows with Mike Williams? You'd have to be absolutely an idiot to, trade a first-round pick from in a dynasty league. Could you imagine being that stupid, Josh? And now, could you imagine that dynasty team having Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Joshua Palmer on it? You'd have to be some sort of fucking idiot. Anyways, I really love Jeff Wilson this week, 7,700. They're playing... Who the fuck are the Dolphins playing? Does anyone remember off the top of my head? All right, I'm just going to look it up. Wilson.
Houston.
All right, yeah. So Houston, their run defense, I think, is like 31st. Bulletproof Brian didn't get going last week, but Jeff Wilson and Mike McDaniels are a significantly superior offensive mind in offense. Jeff Wilson, as soon as he got to Miami, was involved early and often. So Jeff Wilson at 7,700 feels like an absolute steal. So I love Jeff Wilson this week. Josh, who do you think's going to bust this week in the FanDuel? Because we need to start making some moves if we want to get in that money.
I went with CMC. He's playing up against a solid defense. 9,200 is a lot. I don't think he's going to be like a negative point player, but he's got some competition there, and so it's one of those things that or he's going to have a harder time than other players at that price point.
Yeah, and going back to what we were talking about earlier, Josh, I think Tyreek Hill will bust. Not because Tyreek Hill is bad. Tyreek Hill is very good, and it's very possible that Mike McDaniels can scheme around this Houston defense and get Tyreek Hill all the yards and all the touchdowns he wants. I just don't think that's going to be necessary. I think it's the much lower hanging fruit for Tyreek Hill to just be taking all the attention away, being double or triple covered literally all game, and then they just Miami can win a million different ways. They don't need Tyreek Hill, and so for that reason. Even if Tyreek Hill puts up 10 fantasy points this week, at a value of 9,200, at a price of 9,200, that's not a very good value. And so you want at least a bunch of good values in your lineup if you can help it. So I think Tyreek Hill, for those purposes, will be a bust this week. Josh, moving on. It looks like you don't want to do anything with a sleeper over under contest because both of us, we came back, or at least I came back and I didn't win a single bet. So you quit. Did you put any bets in over Thanksgiving? I didn't even see. I didn't have a chance to, but
I did. I put a couple in. I did a couple drafts as well, and then I saw that the $100 that I started with was down to like $750. And so I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I suck. I hate this. So I just bet $750 on a 5-piece or a 3-piece. I got 2 out of the 3, which hurt. But then I saw that they were doing the dollar match, so I put some more money in, and then I won a couple. So yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But I still quit.
Trying to be thrifty with the dollars, though. I appreciate it. All right, so yeah, we've got no contest for you this week because we are trying to hit time a little bit here. We got to get out of here. But Josh, weekly preview we have to hit because, like I said, Josh, every Vikings fan who is worth their weight in gold or worth their weight in salt or worth whatever the expression is, I think I just combined 2 different expressions, but any Vikings fan who is worth their weight this week, they are cheering for the Green Bay Packers because if the Packers lost, I think we clinch the division. But if the Packers win, Philly gets one more loss, and we still got a better shot at that number 1 seed because Philly has already beaten us. Josh, can you please go through? This will be the last thing we talk about, then we'll just end the podcast. Can you please walk through exactly the game plan for every Green Bay Packers player to dominate every Philadelphia Eagles player? What's the strategy? How do we win this game? And how can the Vikings fans encourage you to the win? Because we're all on the same team this weekend, pal, Sunday night. How do the Packers win this thing, and how can us Vikings fans help?
Well, I think it all begins with sending fruit baskets with rotten fruit to all of the players in Philadelphia so that they get food poisoning and have poopy pants.
Big brain.
And then it begins with special teams and a lot of trickery on that. Instead of putting 11 on the field, we put 40. That way we have an opportunity to stop them. When we're on defense, we have to give Joe Barry an Etch-a-Sketch and like some crayons and like a dry erase marker with the cap on so he doesn't write on his face. But then we, on offense, what we need to do is we need to have Aaron Rodgers throw with his left hand and throw the ball a million times to just the running backs. And I'm talking like throw the ball in a handoff motion. I think we need to have 5 running back sets where we have Aaron Rodgers and then 5 running backs lined up right behind him. And then we do kind of a little bit of one goes left, one goes right, one goes left, one goes right. And then the 5th guy gets it, or maybe the 4th guy gets it. Some trickeration there that just kind of would help out a lot with the fact that there's absolutely zero opportunity for this team to win.
Okay, I searched up Go Pack Go in my soundbar here thing. Let's see if anything good comes up. I've never played these before. This could be bad.
Go Pack Go!
All right.
Yeah, that's the best thing you've ever played. Keep it going.
Go Pack
Go Pack! Go!
All right. So there we go. Every Vikings fan will be saying Go Pack Go this weekend. Josh, let's get the hell out of here. I got to write down this thing. All right, Josh, go ahead and hit your Go Packers, and then I'll tell everyone that I appreciate them, and they're so beautiful, and we appreciate everyone participating in the Discord, and we appreciate everyone who will listen again with us Tuesday night at 8 p.m. sharp. Josh, anything else you'd like to say to the folks out there?
Go Pack Go!
All right, everyone, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you Tuesday evening. Good luck in your Week 12 matchups. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and I hope the Packers win Sunday night. Goodbye, everybody.
Save that.
Walters, I'll be hopping on the cod here in a moment. Just got to get the shit uploaded, so give me, 10:15. I'll be there, pal.
already. Okay.
Are you trying to say this on the pod? Do I keep recording or do I stop and we're just having a conversation?
No, I was just going to say gross, but that's fine.
So I can stop recording then because I'm still recording right now. Okay.